Right. This is the special podcast edition for the budget. We've just watched it and our first reactions. A bit of a snooze fest, to be honest. I was actually falling asleep. You forget how boring these things really are. Maybe we should be a bit more into it, considering this is what we're trying to be all about.
No, because we're normal people here to discuss it, you know, and a normal person's reaction is going to be exactly the same as ours. It's just a bit boring. It's a little bit of here and there. Labour do what they always do. Well, every political party does, in all fairness, which is that they'll mix the high value things in with loads of low value things. They'll never do a chunk, which is all high value. So it was, you know, up until the very end, it was just a little bit.
Well, they start off right, sort of splurring out numbers. So if anyone actually watched it, it's that they start talking about hundreds of millions of pounds for this, hundreds of millions of pounds of that, billions of pounds for that, and you go, whoa, slow down. What, are we allocating all this money all of a sudden? Like, what are we doing? Like, well, hey. But actually, all this money has already been allocated. There's the Barnett formula, which is how we distribute monies from the UK as a whole to Wales and Scotland, etc. And that's already done. That's already there. They talk about it as if it's a new money, but it's not. And quite often, when a chancellor stands, in front of the dispatch box and wants to sound good, they talk about money as if it's brand new, but it really isn't. And so it took a little while to actually get into the details of, or to hear some new announcements. But those new announcements have already been announced. They're already there. And we already know about them. And there's nothing massive. There's nothing major. So we're going to go through a few of those now. And sort of, but overall, I think it was a massive missed opportunity. So Rachel Reeves has said that she doesn't want to do a mini budget. She just wants to have, I think she wants to do 1 or 2 budgets a year, which I think isn't right. I think you should have more, and you should be able to react to things going on around the world. But I think it was a missed opportunity. You know, there should have been a lot more to it. It wasn't really growth. She talks about growth a lot, but that's because she doesn't have any of it. I think if you talk about it enough, people, you might actually persuade some people that you're actually doing it, but she's not. And overall, I think it was something like £26 billion that she was able to raise from all the tax raising, from all the tax increases. On a whole, I actually don't think she's done a bad job at raising a lot of money, really. So they were quite easy targets, but they were already announced, or kind of out there. Yeah, a bit boring, a massive missed opportunity. She really could have gone in on growth. I think around the country we see so much waste. I've spoken about that in the previous podcasts. And she could have capped some of the quite a lot of the benefits, which is ultimately eating into the welfare bill. It's just, we could have done a lot more. It's just typical, just patching around to actually try to get anywhere. Alex, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I agree. It was a bit boring, to be honest. It was probably one of the most boring budgets I've watched, and I've watched quite a few at the big age of 24 now. But yeah, look, it was a bit boring. And do you know what? I felt there was a lot of missed opportunities there, but with something else. Obviously, everyone knows that the North and South have had a massive divide for quite a while now. Obviously, the biggest economic hub in the UK is, you could have guessed it, London. And the North has just been... It's lacked investment, it's lacked infrastructure. And something that really stuck out to me, which is such a small thing in the grand scheme of the budget, was the AI kind of hub they want to build in Wales. I think there's a massive missed opportunity there. They could have done it in the North. This could have been the first part of them bringing in the North to the economic growth that the South has had for so long. And they didn't do it.
I think a lot of people, though, would consider Wales as part of that divide. Wales is a lot poorer than the rest of England.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but also...
Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, but when do we cut our losses?
What?
It sounds really bad.
You talking about getting rid of Wales?
No, not talking about getting rid I like Wales. It's a great hiking destination. No, but logically, right, you've got to choose... In government, in economics, you've got to choose between the greater good. If you try and please everyone, you please no one. Okay?
I'm loving this. Let's hear where... Come on.
Right.
Prime Minister or Chancellor Alex. How would Chancellor Alex do it?
We have a lot of potential up north. We had a lot of industries up north beforehand, and we cut them. Right? And from that, the whole of the north of England is suffering. There is no if, buts, maybes. The whole of the north is suffering. If you look at kind of statistics on poverty, the north far outweighs the south. Far outweighs the south. Right?
Why is that?
Well, after the 70s, after Thatcher, when she kind of went against the unions and industrial
That's the history of
action.
it, but what's happened? Why have we not been able to do anything about it since?
Well, you could argue lack of investment, which is true. There is no denying there has been a massive lack of investment compared to somewhere like London. What the government's done, and not just Labour, the Conservatives, governments in history, which you can see both sides of it very clearly. I'm not either against or for it, but I can see both sides of it. They put all their cards, they put all their, they played roulette. They put everything on red. Red being London, right? It's done well. London's become a massive, massive financial service-based sector in the entire world, if not the biggest finance location, second to obviously America, or maybe America's first. The UK is definitely second. But as a country, we cannot rely on one single city. We cannot rely on London to make the money for the entirety of the United Kingdom. That's a stupid business practice.
And you think that they need to put in more to level up?
I think the North does need to be levelled up. They tried to do it with HS2. The idea was HS2 is building straight. We know how that went, right?
Yeah. Well, they stopped. Well, they were going to go up to Leeds, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then they scrapped that.
Yeah.
I actually think that was a bad decision.
What, scrapping it?
Yeah.
Well, it's just typical UK fashion. There's just too many bloody loot.
Obviously I'm a supporter of reform largely, but I massively disagreed with them on HS2. They wanted to scrap HS2, and I was like, look, if we can't bloody do that right, then we can't do anything, can we? You know, it's a relatively short stretch when you compare to other countries. We just needed to get the cost down. Simple as that. Shop around.
Do you know what's funny? I was watching a clip recently, and it was they were talking about they were talking to the Oppenheimer family, which is a South African massive business tycoon family. It was I believe it was for Bloomberg or for Forbes, something like that. Right. It wasn't Forbes. It might have been Bloomberg or something like that. And they asked them, "Would you invest in the United Kingdom?" And the simple answer and the short answer was no. Yeah. And he said that it's ridiculous. They were talking about how the UK government wanted to extend the sides of the roads or make the A303 2 lanes or something like that. And they estimated it would take 30 years to do. And he just turned around and said, a country that takes 30 years to do that is not investable.
You know, I love at the moment, there are so many stories, and maybe I'm in my own echo chamber because obviously I work in property, but wherever you look, there is waste and bureaucracy, and it's crazy the amount of time it takes. And I think that is really getting to the forefront now, you know, that if you want to build in this country, it's insane.
It's ridiculous.
You know, the paperwork, the time, the waste, and There was a thing I saw a little while ago. It was quite funny. I can't even bloody remember what it was, but long story short, it was the paperwork cost more than the actual thing, and which they ended up not building. It's nuts. Should we go through the actual?
Yes, we
budget
are getting
itself?
sidetracked. Let's jump into that, and I'll start this off.
Got him.
So we're looking at the board here. The first thing we're going to talk about is income tax and national insurance. So if you remember recently, Rachel Reeves made a U-turn on increasing the kind of direct taxes, income tax, national insurance. It was income tax, wasn't it, that she wanted to increase? And she took a U-turn on that.
Well, not quite, because she didn't actually announce it, which was the whole point.
Okay, yeah, all right. It was leaked that she was going to increase income tax, and then she took a U-turn on that, because she obviously realised that no one wanted that, and that would seal Labour's fate as just complete liars. Mind you, technically, they're still liars, because although that's a direct, you can, increase taxes for people, that's a direct. There's also indirect, which is what's happened here. So, as expected, Reeves will freeze income tax and national insurance thresholds for another 3 years from 2028, continuing the freeze implemented by the previous government. This will bring more people into the higher tax bands. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, they call it a stealth tax, don't they?
Yeah.
They're not actually increasing the tax, but they're bringing more people.
It's just an indirect tax
into that bracket. Well, it's kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, kind of. So it's just a cheeky way of doing it, and over the long term, it gets them a lot more revenue. So it's just pants, isn't it? It's just rubbish. I mean, they've said they made the whole thing of not increasing tax on working people, but if you don't change these thresholds, it is basically a tax on working people, and ultimately, who pays for all these increases is always working people anyway. So it's all a load of rubbish. They did increase national insurance on landlords, which, being a landlord myself, I massively disagree with. Although it doesn't actually matter if you're in a company.
Yeah.
So it only matters if you're an individual, which majority of people that are actually landlords are just individuals. They moved out of their house, they moved in with a partner or whatever, and they've got a house that they didn't want to sell for whatever reason, or they didn't need to sell, and they thought, well, let's just rent this. Maybe they've got plans to move into it one day or whatever. Now, they already can't offset the mortgage, which is nuts. So let's say you've got a property that you rent out for £1,000 a month, and your mortgage is, I don't know, £600. Okay, you're making a nice £400 a month. Okay, cool, right, lovely. But how much tax do you pay? You'd think you pay tax on the £400 profit, but you don't. You pay tax on the £1,000.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, let's say you pay 30% tax, you'd be taxed £300 out of that £1,000. You still got to pay out that £600, so you're only left with the £100. And now what they're doing now is they're upping the national insurance. I'm not quite sure about 100% of the figures, but they're upping that, so you're paying even more than that. So that may well swallow up the rest of the £100. Basically, there is no money if you've got a mortgage, which majority of landlords do. They've got a buy-to-let mortgage. Your margins are quite thin anyway, and over the past few years, landlords have been such an easy target for both Conservatives and Labour, that they've just been hammering them, and there's no money in it anymore. And I think people don't realise that until they get into it. And so what happens is landlords are either just dying out, which means higher rents, and companies are replacing them. They're not replacing them as much, because ultimately the masses can buy or can buy a lot more, and companies have got larger overheads. Ultimately, if you had a private individual as a landlord, they would do a lot of stuff themselves. They'd probably go around and paint and sort everything themselves. Companies have got a much bigger overheads. So expect rents to go up much more. That's ultimately the result of this. So well done, Labour.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's
Next one.
let's move on from that. Actually, it moves on nicely to property and council tax.
Yeah.
So the basic and higher rate of tax on property, dividend, and savings income will go up by 2 percentage points each. That's pretty rough. No, that's very rough. So, sorry, is that saying that if you're a saver, if you have a lot of savings and you're getting paid a dividend, you're going to be paying more tax? Or is that just saying that the tax on property? Because it's got the comma, but that would usually mean different terms. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think this goes into the profits that you can make from property.
Right.
So what we're reading out now is yeah. So
I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
The money made from property, money made from dividends, and whatever. So the main thing here, and what's quite easy for us to understand, is the additional surcharge on higher value property.
Yeah.
Rachel Reeves stood up and said that the council tax that you pay up north, for example, is quite often on a much cheaper house, much cheaper house. It could be like £150,000 up north. You pay the same, or sometimes even more, than the council tax that you pay on a property worth millions of pounds in London.
Mm.
Now, for most people, would look at that and go, "Oh yeah, that doesn't seem right. That there's a clear thing there." The reason why governments have failed for the past 35 years to look into council tax is because they are all valued based on their valuation in like 1991, which is nuts. It really is crazy, and but it's such a big thing, right? To try and revalue every single property in the country and get everyone to agree, or whatever. It's just an absolute mess.
Yeah.
So it's why governments have just repeatedly not done anything about it. But it's the obvious one. It's very clearly unfair. Or it doesn't quite make sense on that. But they've done something here which I don't quite know again how they're going to enforce it. So they say on properties worth more than 2 million. Well, how do you know that your property's worth? As was always with every single budget, the detail is so important, and on budget day you don't often see that detail. You see it in the coming weeks and months, and if it even gets implemented at all.
Yeah.
Because how are they going to ensure that every property worth over £2 million is going to be valued as such? So what they've said is the property, I don't know if it says it on here, but the properties that are in bands, what it is, like DFG or whatever, they're going to revalue. So if it's currently got a council tax on that, they're going to value it. But how are they going to value it? You know what I mean? So are they going to send a value around? Is it just going to be a desktop valuation?
Yeah.
Who bloody knows? Like how and who is whoever to say how much it's worth? Like, imagine getting your house valued at 2 million and it's worth 1.5.
Yeah.
You're now paying this surcharge of $2,500 a year. You can't afford that because you bought that house 70 years ago, right?
Yeah.
When it was a hell of a lot cheaper. Your wages hasn't gone up or whatever. You're I don't know. You're a widow. You're quite old now, and you can't afford this sort of money. What happens? What happens then? The fact that it's not worth 2 million, but some person says it's worth 2 million. It doesn't make sense. How are they going to do it? How are they going to work it? I think that's it's very frustrating when they release something like this and it leaves people going, I don't know. I mean, imagine the people that are buying a house right now as well. They'd have to then consider that. To be honest with you, I think it's okay. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to stop anyone from buying a £2 million house that they've got a fee of £2,500 a year extra.
Yeah.
But it's for the people that have already got it. That's where it gets a bit shit, and how they're going to do it. But it's that uncertainty, you know. As I say, if you can't afford it, if you're thinking, what and how is that going to work? And some of them are 7,500.
Yeah.
You're going to be worried for the next few years, thinking, how is this going to happen?
It's a bit of a bittersweet one, to be honest, this one, because as you kind of said, I mean, I necessarily don't see at point blank, it seems fair. You know, it seems very fair because for a vast amount of individuals, they don't own a house of 2 million or especially 5 million. And the argument is if you own a house of £5 million, you can probably afford to pay 7,500 off.
I would make a very good point here, right? Saying the word fair just because someone's got more money isn't necessarily fair. It's a bit like someone going up to a millionaire and saying, give us a fiver. Oh, come on, it's only fair. You've got loads of money. Whoa, hold on. Why should I just give you more money just because I've got money? Right? So I think there's if you're gonna obviously dish it basic.
Okay,
I think it's an easy one for the government. I don't think it's a right one for the government.
Okay, well,
But
irrespective,
as far as things can go, it's not bad.
irrespective of that, forgetting all of the the social aspects of it, talking at a simple financial and economic point of view, it's a good way to raise some profit, right? As Oliver said, though, how they're going to value those properties is going to be a bit interesting because imagine this. Imagine the government decides to re-roll a valuation survey out. Already houses are quite high, right? What happens if they fuck up the valuations and overvalue houses? All that's going to happen in that instance is it's going to raise the internal prices even more, which puts people like me on my arse. You know, already buying a house in Buckinghamshire, especially where we are. I'm not going to say where we are because that's disingenuous. That's not disingenuous, but it's not something I probably want to mention now. But we're near Milton Keynes, right? We don't want to... You know, housing is already really unaffordable, especially if you don't want to buy a new build house because they're all shit. But yeah, I mean, look, it's a difficult one. I
There
think
wasn't anything in here for house building or anything, was there?
no.
You know, they've got that target, 1.5 million houses. Nothing
Oh
in
yeah,
there for that.
they're
Nothing to help new buyers or anything like that. Nothing to help young people. There was an increase in minimum wage, wasn't there? And the problem with the increasing of minimum wage is that all those people that are employed in that sector where they employ people on minimum wage is already struggling. Okay, so they've recently was it early this year or last year, whatever it was, they stuck the national insurance up on employers, which massively as a percentage hurt those employers and therefore those employees at that lower end.
Yeah.
Now they're increasing the wages on that lower end. Fine, but what's going to happen is instead of 10 people being employed, you might get 9 people being employed.
Yeah.
Yes, they're all getting a little bit more, but there's going to, unemployment rate is going to go even higher than it already is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that ultimately is what's going to happen. And so is it the right decision? I don't think so.
We need to couple that with the idea that people aren't spending much money. You know, people can't afford services like they used to, and therefore businesses are suffering. Right, especially service-based businesses. You know, they are suffering. So, you know, it just puts more pressure, unfortunately, on those businesses, which is Labour's. I mean, Labour's always been very, anti-business, but kind of anti-business, anti-corporation, anti-entrepreneur.
Labour isn't working. That's an old-fashioned slogan.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, moving on. So next, do you know what? I really want to talk about this part, but we're going to talk about this bit first. This bit I'm going to have quite a lot to say
you know
about.
What? I hate pensions. I hate the whole ISA thing. I don't know enough about it. If
Right.
you do,
I do.
you fire away.
Okay.
I just think if you've got money, invest it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Let me fire away. So obviously a little bit of a
okay.
background. I studied economics. I then worked in London in a wealth management firm. So a big part of that firm was obviously pensions and ISAs. So let's talk about pensions. So salary sacrifice. Essentially, salary sacrifice is quite an easy thing to understand, and it's very useful to individuals getting paid a decent amount. I'm not going to say a lot because in comparison, what do you class as a lot? But essentially, people can sacrifice some of their salary before tax into their pension, right? So essentially, it's just an efficient way to put money into your pension before it's taxed. Because usually, if with a private pension, obviously you receive your salary, that salary has already been taxed, and then you would put money into a pension, a SIP, something like a private pension. So a salary sacrifice is just when you do it, but you do it in the reverse way. So it goes into your pension before tax, because obviously your pension is taxed after you start taking it out as well. So a private pension, you'd be taxed twice, but normal pensions, doing a salary sacrifice, you can essentially get around that slightly. But here's the interesting part. Most people use salary sacrifices once they hit the threshold of £100,000, because once you earn, for every £2 you earn over £100,000, you lose £1 of your personal allowance. So essentially, after you make £125,000, give or take, you would have lost all of your personal allowance, and therefore you'll be taxed at essentially 60%. So salary sacrifices is used a lot to kind of curb that. So that if you earn over, let's say you earn £110,000, a lot of people will put 10,000 into their pension, so they then don't hit that 60% tax bracket. Now, the government is going to introduce a £2,000 cap on salary sacrifice into pensions. This is actually really interesting, because what happens a lot of the time as well is that people go through life cycles, especially in financial planning, right? You start work as a young professional, you kind of have a family, then you have your kids. And when your kids get to 18, you enter the kind of second to last life cycle. And that usually involves people putting a lot of money into their pensions, because they've worked for X amount of years, they've been paying for their kid, the kid is now independent, and now it's time to prepare for retirement. So from, kind of mid-40s to, when you retire, usually people put a lot of money into their pensions. What will be really interesting to see is how that affects everything, and how financial planning is going to kind of change. Because, as I said, it was a really useful and very used tool. But hey, that's gone now. And then also removing tax, so they forecast it to raise 4.7 billion, which is a lot of money. But let's talk. Do you want to add anything to that, or do you want me to go straight to ISA reform?
Well, I'm just seeing here, it says that because it doesn't really affect low to middle earners that much.
Yeah.
But it does the higher end, and it might force them to change their behaviour and put their cash into other investments.
Yeah.
Instead of their pensions, because if it's less beneficial tax wise, they may feel that they have to. Now, I actually think that's a good thing. I think investing in putting your money into investments, supporting businesses now, will be better in the long run for the economy, because otherwise it's just sat there, isn't it?
Okay, let me ask you a question, right? If I give you £20,000 right now and tell you to invest it, And I'm not talking about, in your business, you need to put it into perspective of most people.
Yeah.
How are you going to invest it?
How are you going to invest it?
Yeah, what are you going to put it into?
Well,
if you can't put it into property.
bear in mind, it was saying that it's higher earners, so it will be quite a bit of money over a fair period of time.
Just roughly.
Well,
Where
there's
would you
loads
put
of
it?
ways. You could put it in the FTSE 100. You could invest it into whatever stocks that you want. You could put it into Bitcoin.
So
There's loads of things you can do. I mean, these days it's so easy to park your money in investments, or you could be more local. You could go. You could speak to more local people and actually invest locally instead. If you've got friends or family that have got a business that they want to do something with, you can invest more in them rather than sticking it in your pension money and it goes to some big hedge fund thing.
Okay. Well, all right. So something interesting you said there. Being able to invest your money is really good, but you need to remember most of these pensions, especially private pensions, are invested anyway.
Yeah.
These are not just sat in a vault collecting dust. A lot of these pension companies, especially SIPs, are invested exactly the same way as an investment would happen for an stocks and shares ISA or anything like that. Okay? The problem is now they want people to turn around and invest it into other things. I can promise you right now, anyone with a sane head that understands return of investment, which is most people in the higher earning bracket, will not be putting it in the FTSE 100. They will not be putting it into Bitcoin. They will be putting it into America. They'll be putting it into Europe, potentially Europe. That money will not go into UK businesses because the UK FTSE 100 has trailed behind the returns of the rest of the world. I've never had any of my money in the FTSE because the returns were so shit.
But why is that?
Because the returns were so shit.
Yeah, but why is the return so shit?
Oh, well, it's bloody economy, isn't it? It's businesses, UK businesses. The thing is, right, it's all connected, right? People aren't spending money, businesses suffer. When businesses suffer, people don't want to invest in those businesses. It's a never-ending circle.
Well, I think maybe the government needs to look at why. Yeah.
Well, maybe the government should, but until then, saying that, we're going to get more people investing, I think is a little bit disingenuous, personally, because people should be putting money in their, once it goes into pensions, it's likely going to invest it anyway. So, in fact, the government would have done one better to go to the pension providers and go, actually, we'll give you some sort of certain incentives to put it into UK businesses. But they haven't. So that's all I have to say for that. And then it brings us to the ISA reform, which is really interesting, carries on lovely. So the cash ISA limit will be set at now £12,000, down from £20,000, right? So if you don't know what an ISA is an individual savings account. It's a tax...
Is that what it stands for?
Yeah. It is a tax... it's a tax-exempt account, right? You can hold... A cash ISA specifically is like a tax-exempt savings account. Anyone with a sane brain wouldn't really be using the cash ISA, especially when they're young, because the returns on a cash ISA usually quite slim, usually not very high. But once again, the government's gone to this idea that if we lower the threshold to £12,000 for cash ISAs...
Is that a year?
Yeah, annual. So people will then put £8,000 into a stocks and shares ISA. I don't think that's going to happen, personally. I think people will go on their banking app. They'll see that they've put £12,000 in, feel really happy about themselves, and buy themselves a Mackey's afterwards. I don't see people going... Do you know what? Because what people would do is just be able to put... I would just put £20,000 into a stocks and shares ISA.
What's the saving in the government for this then? Do they not have to, like, I don't know, like, do they? Where's the benefit of the government doing this?
I don't know, because the government.
Don't the government like match or put down some of the interest or something for an ISA?
They probably do, yeah. They probably do, actually. For a cash ISA, yeah, because the interest is usually quite small. Don't get me wrong, the interest is small.
Yeah.
Not a large amount. It's not like stocks and shares ISA. Stocks and shares ISA goes up and down, but, you know, you can get 20% return on stocks and shares ISA. I have. More than that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so that's interesting, and those over 65 have also been exempt from the changes, which is normal because once people get to that age, obviously their ability to take risk is massively reduced, so that would make sense. But 65, actually, to be honest, might be a little bit late. 55, maybe. That's when people start to get a little bit more careful about their money, because obviously if they invest it stocks and shares ISA, you know, on if you look statistically, yeah, it's likely to have an increase in value. But COVID happened 5 years ago.
A lot of people save now, like in their 30s, and
yeah, that's when you're supposed to save, but that's when you're subject to high risk, because you can, if the market's very volatile, you can essentially just live your life and that will correct itself. Once you get closer to retirement age, that money then starts to be more important because you need to use it. You'll need to start thinking about taking it out, all of that stuff. But either way, you know, that's that. Is it a good decision? I wouldn't say so. I think that's fucking ridiculous. But hey ho, at least they didn't touch lifetime ISAs, which I think was one of the things they were talking about a little while ago. But that would have just set even more fuel to the fire for young people and first time buyers like myself, because that's one of the most efficient ways to buy a house. Right, energy bills. I heard this, but it was all gibberish when I heard it. So the Energy Company Obligation Scheme, introduced by the Conservative, costs families 1.7 billion a year, according to Reeves, and has actually cost families in fuel poverty more than it's saved. Reeves is scrapping it, saying it will £150 will come off bills next year as a result. It's just words, isn't it? Just words. I mean, there's no.
Tell you what, if they want to reduce energy bills, just scrap the VAT on energy bills. There you go, boom.
And they're dumb.
So don't piss about. Just stop taxing it. There you go. National insurance. We've not national insurance.
National minimum wage. Touch
we spoke
that.
about that already. Tobacco and alcohol duty. Let me guess, nothing happened. Yeah.
No. Milkshake tax.
Milkshake tax. Man, milkshake brings all the. Yeah. So this is funny, isn't it? We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
So this was rumored a few days ago. Again, it's just messing about, isn't it? I mean, how much money is that going to bring in? Does it even say? Do we even know how much that's going to bring in? I think it's a good thing, though. I'm in favour of sugar taxes. I think sugar is far too cheap, and it's not good for us. I say that as a massive sugar fan.
I'm against sugar tax because Cocoa Pops now taste like shit.
Well, yeah, but they don't actually have to take sugar out.
But here's the thing, right?
I can't tell the difference between a Diet Coke and a full fat Coke.
Easily.
So I am a little bit biased in this.
I can.
Because I'm just like, why am I having the extra calories?
I can. I've done this before. I can easily tell the difference. But here's something that I do find a bit interesting, right? And it starts off with this the whole argument of sugar tax when it came in, right? It was, we're going to make young kids healthier. Is it not the parents' job to do that? I wasn't fat, and I ate all the time. Well, ate the right things.
Yeah, but I think sometimes it's a good one, isn't it? Right? Because it's that debate of how far should the government go in protecting its citizens. We have an obesity crisis, and most of the time, it does start when you're young. And so sweets and milkshakes and all that kind of stuff and sugary drinks is not great when you're a kid to have. And this way, they're not banning it; they're just making it more expensive. Often, it makes the companies reinvent slightly to make sweeteners and things like that to get it down so they can get underneath the threshold of it.
I think companies
and
already...
it makes the government some money, which ultimately, if we invested wisely, is a good thing. So I am, whilst I don't like the nanny state, I am actually in favour of sugar tax.
Isn't that pathetic, though? Us as a country have got to a point where we're like, do you know what? We need to raise money. Let's raise milkshakes.
I'd rather tax milkshakes than tax, I don't know, my house or something else.
Well, yeah, obviously, but I mean, I just
you got to tax something, and if you're going to tax something, tax the things that are bad for us. That's, I mean, everyone knows.
We've all gone fucking insane. This.
So there we go. Fuel duty. Haven't they done something with electric vehicles? Yes. So, yeah, I think this was a case that everyone's buying electric cars now. The government's realised that they're not getting as much money in, and so they've started to tax electric vehicles. But how are they going to police it? I have no idea. It's a bit like what I was saying earlier with the property prices. So they're going to charge 3p a mile for electric cars.
That's a lot.
And 1.5p for plug-ins. But how are they going to do it?
That's so much money when you think about it, though.
Yeah, but are they going to do it on your MOT? Like, how are they going to know? How are they going to?
I don't know. Maybe it's insurance. Usually, when you renew insurance, you have to put your miles, don't you?
Yeah, but then they don't ask for proof.
Yeah, I don't
know
know either. That's a really interesting one. I think
how are they going to police it? It's all well and good having it there, but how are they going to police it?
I think that's dreadful, though. I mean, because I know they want to make at least all new vehicles electric by, what was it, 2030?
No, can't be 2030.
I think it was.
All vehicles by 2030?
No, all new vehicles.
Oh.
Not all vehicles. That'll take fucking donkeys.
I think they had something for that, and then I think they moved it to like 2040 or something like that.
Yeah, either way, I think obviously, as you said, what they did is they made, what was the thing you didn't have to pay? A road tax, wasn't it, on an electric car? And now so many people have bought them, they're going to start to increase that. Eventually, they'll. I
kind of think it's fair enough. You know, with fuel duty, obviously a lot of that is taxed as a percentage.
Yeah.
I prefer that sort of tax because at least then you're paying the tax. The more you drive, the more you're taxed, right? As opposed to the people that don't drive much and are taxed the same amount. That makes no sense. So I guess this is a way of sorting that. You know, the more you drive, the more tax you pay, rather than it just sat there and you're still paying loads of tax. Yeah,
I still don't like it.
Again, I mean, they've got to get tax from somewhere, but and this is more of a case of, I think they've lost it from all the fuel cars, and so they're gaining it from the electric one. They're not massively better off. They were just losing it over the last few years, and now they've realigned that to gain £1.9 billion. That's an insane amount of money. Right, what's next?
Scroll down. Schools and the NHS.
Boo.
Repeating what the spending review refers to.
I still feel their own goal on the private schools was insane. To charge VAT on that.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like I said earlier. Whilst I said, you got to get taxed from somewhere, but don't tax schools, because then that's just like, it just makes people go into the public school system, which then costs the government.
Oi,
makes no
be
sense.
Careful.
What do you mean?
Did you go to private school or public school?
Huh?
Which did you go to, private or public?
Public.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. I thought you went to private.
No.
You're rich.
No.
You're rich. Okay, no, we both went public then. I mean, I think... So the funny thing is, I think what they did with that is they kind of looked at the previous budget, the VAT on private schools. They probably looked at private schools and instantly thought about places like Eton and places like that, and were like, the parents can afford that. But then what they didn't see, which is, I saw quite a lot around here, is that you have families that are no better off than any other family. We're not talking about wealthy families that sacrifice so much to send their kids through private education, because
They're spending
it
quite
gives...
a lot on the NHS.
You what?
Sorry, spending quite a lot on the NHS. Are we back?
We're back. Okay, little break. So, where were we? Private...
Oh, sorry.
Unbelievable.
Right, we're talking about schools and the NHS. I was saying that I don't think it's. I think it's quite good, but again, we don't know how much of this is old money. So they've said that they're promising savings of 4.9 billion from a variety of efficiencies. I mean, why were you not doing that? Why was that not being done already? Is that not just bollocks that they just say every single time? You know, like they always say, we're gonna gain X amount from tax avoidance and things like that. It's just, it's just not really. It's not real, is it? It's not real. It's just hopefully we're gonna save this,
it's just noise.
Yeah, £18 million to upgrade playgrounds.
I mean that.
It's like okay, why not? It's 18 grand.
They said about
kids.
They said about Luton, didn't they? They were like, we're going to upgrade playgrounds, in Luton and all that stuff.
They've got a lot more to do.
I was going to say that. I mean, I'm not being funny. The least of Luton's problems are fucking playgrounds. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Right. But
you need a bit more money than that.
Yeah. It's a little bit ridiculous there, but oh well. The government's going to do what the government's going to do, spending money on things that we don't need to spend money on. But hey ho. Right, welfare and apprenticeships. Now I like this, or at least the apprenticeships part.
Reeves claims 15,000 people will get back into work, a figure confirmed today due to reforms to universal credit. Okay, what are those reforms, and how? I don't know. And how will it get back people?
As with everything, they haven't said how.
Yeah.
They've said we will.
Right.
Great.
Okay.
How?
So anyone could say that. About £300 million of taxpayer subsidies will be removed for those using their disability benefits to drive mobility vehicles, including imposing VAT on payments for higher value cars and ending relief from insurance premium tax.
Once again, I think that's just circling around the problem, not fixing it. I mean, the least of people's disability benefits are ridiculous. Maybe we need to reform what disabilities actually are. Or, I say reform, maybe we should smack our heads and stop sticking our heads up our arse and actually decide what disabilities actually are. Because I'm not gonna get specific, but there's a lot of things I think that are on there that I think we could very much argue are not disabilities. But hey ho, I don't think I have anything to talk about on that one. To be honest,
just to go into that. So there's £300 of taxpayers' money subsidises currently people driving around in mobility vehicles, scooters.
Benefits to drive mobility.
You see those like way overweight people in Mazda.
Yeah.
Right. Is that? Because to be fair, I mean, if they are genuinely disabled and they're not just like obese, then maybe they should get that. I don't know.
I thought this was related to the higher. I thought this was related to the second part, which is including imposing a VAT on payments for higher value cars. See, that's what I thought this related to. I didn't read it properly either. Removed for those using disability benefits to drive mobility vehicles.
Maybe they get VAT exempt for higher value cars that have got maybe some sort of mobility benefit or something like that.
Maybe.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Should we move on because we don't really know much about that.
Yeah, what I want to talk about is the apprenticeships. I think this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, what is it about?
So there will be funding to make sure apprenticeships are free for small and medium-sized enterprises.
Free?
Yeah, so the way she talked about it in the actual budget was that they would pay for the training of the individuals coming in. So, for example, if you bring someone on, for example, and you need to send them for a £10,000
Ah,
training scheme.
yes.
The government would then pay for that.
We actually did that. We got we paid for an apprentice to. They already got subsidies from the government.
Yeah.
But we had to pay some money. But yeah,
Seems the
fair
government.
enough. Okay.
I think that's all right, especially as that, apprenticeships. Businesses still aren't offering apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Statistically, in the UK, it's still not a very.
This is a ball ache. That's why.
It is the problem. Yeah, the problem is if you're taking someone on that has no real skills, and it's a gamble as well. Employing people is a gamble. Some people are really good, most are not. Most are fucking terrible.
The problem is, if you get an apprentice on board, let's say, I don't know, you're a plumber, and
Yeah.
you get an apprentice plumber, you have to take time out of your day to train
them,
the apprentice, and it's bloody hard work.
It's-
Often the young lads that don't really want to work,
Yeah.
it's hard.
It's better to have I think with something like that, it's really good to show that they're already somewhat skilled in it. If you're at college and you want to do an apprenticeship, maybe a better route is doing the qualification yourself while getting some work experience. I don't know, but yeah, that's an interesting one. But the next one is even more interesting.
The 2-child benefit cap. I think there's really mixed views on this. So back when I was a lad, right, it was real kind of don't have kids if you can't afford them, right? That was a real kind of Middle England or conservative value that I think a lot of people had. If you can't afford your kids, don't bloody have them. And you'd have it was that kind of chavvy classic look. Of a chavvy family having loads of kids that they can't afford, and they're all living on benefits and all that kind of stuff. But I was massively of that opinion, right? If you can't have kids, if you can't afford your kids, don't have them. But I've kind of gone in the opposite direction, and that's because if you look at the birth rate, it's like 1.4. Okay, so if we aren't having enough, so we're not having enough kids.
Yeah,
right. And you can't force people to have kids, but you can make it a hell of a lot easier for them to have kids financially. And if you speak to young people, especially, one of the reasons why they're not having that additional child is because of how much extra it costs.
Yeah.
So I actually think it's quite a good thing. But I prefer the reform version. Have you heard the reform version? So reform they have said that how much they're going to cut. They're going to cut taxes. They're going to cut welfare spending, etc., etc. But the one thing that they have said on welfare is that they will increase the 2-child benefit cap, just like this. The difference is it's going to be for UK-born citizens. That's the difference. So if you come over here from another country and you have 8 children, right? This is great news for you because you'll now benefit from those additional children. Yeah. And it will make you want to have more and more children, right? Because that's what you want to do. Which is not really what I don't believe that's what it's there for. But Labour have stopped short at doing anything that is divisive, unlike Reform, which will go, well, yeah, we need to increase British-born birth rate, because 1.4 is not a replacement thing. So the only way to see our population from falling is to encourage people to have more babies. And I think, therefore, if you can do anything, so I'm in favour of anything that helps families have more children, whether that is nursery care or benefits if required. So if you've got mum and a dad and they break up, or dad dies or gets run over by a bus or anything, I don't know, and you've got multiple children, there is a protection there for you. I think that's a good thing, but I think it should be restricted to UK born. That's my view on it.
Do you know what? You bring a really interesting perspective, because I was originally against that. But you've actually kind of swayed me for that, to be honest. I
Thank you
didn't
very
think of
much.
it like that. I mean, yeah, I mean, birth rates have been declining. And what Labour what Labour does to fix that is, let's increase immigration. That's great, but then the immigrants we've had coming in, a lot of them are not skilled. You know, they're not what we really need as a country. That being said, do you know what I always say to you? And I think this is a similar situation. It's reactive, not proactive. I think we need to figure out. So if the birth rates are so low, we need to be proactive to why the birth rates are so low.
People don't have kids.
Because why?
Um,
Why can't young people have kids?
Because, well, they can. They just
Biologically, they can.
They
But
prefer. You know what? Right. If you ask a lot of young people, I say young people, like, I don't know, 25 to 35. You know, where they should be making babies.
so I'm not young. I must be a baby.
Yes. Too young to have kids, maybe, in my opinion.
Agreed.
But if you ask them why they don't want kids, they'll say, "I'm too selfish." Honestly, a lot of people
Do you know
that
what-
I know
do you know
say, "I'm too selfish."
Do you know what's funny? I completely agree.
Yeah.
I was in a car recently and I was with some millennials, and they were talking about that, and they were like, "Yeah, I just don't want them." Why? That
Yeah. I couldn't.
isn't that weird? How
Yeah.
such Gen
And-
Z and millennials have
and
such a
they'll-
divide.
And they'll say, "Oh, well, we don't." You know, we they couldn't. They're not compatible. You know, some of them, they've got friends that have got kids. You know, like I've got friends that don't want kids, and they'll go, "No, I see your life. Don't want that." It sounds like a right headache. And I get it. They are difficult, but they are also the best thing in the world, the most rewarding thing in the world. I can't fathom it in my brain why you wouldn't want to do it. But I would say one thing. Obviously, I do all right. I've got my own business, etc. And we can afford a couple of nannies as well as nursery. If it wasn't for all that extra help, which if I wasn't earning what I'm earning, I wouldn't be able to do that, then I don't think my wife would have had 3 children. We might have just stuck it at 1 or 2.
Yeah.
From a financial point of view. Because she
Yeah.
would have had to go back to work. She would not been able to give them the time. So I think you can't stop people from being selfish and not wanting to have children. But what you can do is you can support financially the people that do want to have more. You know, I would love to have more children, but I just can't afford it. Or I've got to go back to work, or you know, whatever. And I think if the government can help in that, then they should. Poland, I think, have said that there's 0 income tax for anyone that's got like more than 3 kids or something like that.
See, I think something like that, something to offset tax, is actually a really good example.
Poland is like major like anti-immigration. They
Yeah.
want to make their own more babies and all the rest of it.
They seem to be doing bloody all right as well.
Yeah, they do.
They're really quickly becoming a looked at economy.
Yeah, they're a proper poster, aren't they?
Yeah.
Of what it could be. Anyway,
So, yeah, a lot of this part is just noise. Growth and inflation forecasts. In the early released document, predicting growth of 1.5% this year, up from 1% it predicted in March. After that, forecast is for... Do you know what? Look, I can read out all these numbers to you. Right, I could make a list of these numbers. The fact is, Labour keep on saying there's going to be growth, and there is no growth. What's the most recent growth figure? It was fucking what? 0.1? Was it even that?
well, it's ways of wording things that make them sound good, and I think we can read between the lines.
I'll give you a maths lesson. Fuck all of fuck all is still fuck all. So
Yeah.
that's
There we go.
that's my growth lesson.
I mean, that's in a nutshell. There's probably more stuff that will come out. There's always more stuff in budget that aren't on the headlines. I will say one thing though.
Yeah.
I thought her hair was much better.
Did you not like her hair before?
No, she looks. I'm not a fan of the fringe, and
Okay.
I'm not a fan of a fringe and short hair. I just think you look weird. I think you look like a robot. You look like your mum's cut your hair with a pair of scissors. They're not well. But today she still had the fringe, but it was kind of parted a little bit, and her hair was sort of like going past her shoulders. Bit better. There you go. That's if we had a woman here, they'd probably say the same thing. So I'm saying it for the women. That was my first thought.
I'm disappointed. That was not my first
You know
thought.
what though? It's absolutely ridiculous. But how politicians present themselves, like physically,
Yeah, you can tell a lot by a person by the way they present
is
themselves.
so important. And I know it's not actually important, but it is important because we're all humans and we judge people as soon as we look at them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, whether that's being judged on what you're wearing, how you've got your hair, how your body language and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
It's really quite interesting.
Yeah.
I felt that the way that she handled herself was quite well. I do feel it was straight from like the playbook. I like it when politicians have their own sort of style of doing things, but the way that she kind of, it's even like cocked her elbow on this dispatch box, and kind of sort of the way that she spoke was very. It's just samey.
Yeah.
You've just studied what politicians have done for the past 15 years and done the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean,
the good thing about this budget is there was nothing, I think, too scary for most people.
Yeah.
Could
have been worse.
It's still, I think a lot of people, this will not spook any markets. This will not be a Liz Truss moment.
No.
There was nothing major in this, which is ultimately, I think it's a good thing and a bad thing. The thing is, when you do a lot on a budget, you can spook the markets because it's a big change. But if you, if you don't, it feels like not enough has been done. So it's a difficult one to get right. But there we go. That's that lowdown.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on it being leaked early? There was a lot made about half an hour before. There was a lot of news going. OBR's released the budget early. I just think, who cares? All right, take us half an hour to
Here's the thing.
start digesting anything anyway.
I think
I think it was just unprecedented, wasn't it?
if the leak happened, if there was a monumental change in some sort of policy, let me rephrase. If this budget, there was a monumental change in something that would have spooked the market, I think it being leaked earlier would be a lot worse.
But half an hour before, who cares?
I think for a budget that was in all intents and purposes not too dramatic. I think the leak did fuck all. And honestly, I think it was just human error. Someone fucked up. Someone's probably going to lose their job today.
Fired.
Yeah, someone's losing their job today. But
you see that on like TikTok and stuff. You always see someone's getting fired because this is too cheap.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
But, okay. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I didn't think too much of it. A little bit of fuck up on the government's part, on the OBR part. Sorry. Is the government to blame? Not really, but they bear responsibility. So that's the end of that.
There you go.
In my opinion.
Well rounded up.
Round it up.
Cool.
Want to talk about anything else?
Well, I think most businesses will probably just be happy that nothing massively is changes and it's not got a whole lot worse. Some industries will probably be devastated by whatever news. Not much else to say, I think.
No. Agreed. Well, look,
Well,
if you enjoyed this episode, this special episode of the budget situation, the autumn budget situation, please leave us a follow, leave us a like, give us a rating on Spotify, and we'll be back to the normal style episodes next week. and we'll talk about the news. We'll talk about life. We'll talk about love. We won't be talking about that, but anyway, everything else we'll talk about.
I thought we did like a politics podcast.
Yeah, I've changed it. It's now a love podcast. We're going to talk about meditation as well.
I do think we need to I think we need to get some sofas in here. I think we all.
We really do. We need to make this cozier.
I think we need to relax a little bit more, and just have a bit more fun.
Could do sofas. You've already got one.
Yeah.
Bring it in here. You have one on one side, I have the other, because that's where a lot of podcasts actually happen, on a sofa.
We could do, but then it's not really So this is in my office where we are, and kindly donated to our podcast. I'm on it. I still want very dark midnight blue curtains. Yeah.
Either side, so we could just focus.
Maybe
on...
we could just get some like big armchairs.
We could do big armchairs.
Big armchairs.
That'd be cool. But I still want the curtains.
Big armchair, big curtains.
Yep.
And a big rustic-looking desk in the middle.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be good, wouldn't it?
That'd be cool.
Right.
Sorry, that was really hard, yeah. Right, we're done.
There we go. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.